Megan and I'm with the Girl Scouts of Central Maryland. And today I'm joining you all to build some robots and to learn all about robots with our robot building party. So before we get started, I'm going to show you a couple of the things that we're going to need today. So to get started, we're going to need a couple of pieces of paper and something to write with. I'm going to use a marker, but you can use a pencil or a pen or whatever you have. And then for later on in our activity, we're going to need just a handful of different materials that you can find around your house. Your materials don't have to look exactly like mine. You could find different things because our activity today is going to be all about imagination and being creative with the supplies that we have. But some examples of some things that you could use, you could go into your craft supplies and you might find some string, some straws, maybe some pipe cleaners or popsicle sticks. Or you can go into your recycling bin and you might be able to find some boxes, maybe some bottles, maybe some cans, something that you can use later when we're being creative with our robot building. But to get started, I want you all to start thinking about, what do you know about robots? Who do you think builds robots? How do robots know what to do? Do any of you know the answer to any of those questions? It's okay if you don't. What we're going to do today is I want you to repeat 3 words after me, all right? So I'm gonna give you those 3 words one at a time and I want you to repeat after me. Our first word is robot. Can you girls say robot? Awesome. All right, next we're going to say engineer, all right? And our last word is kind of a funny word. It's an algorithm. Can you all say algorithm? Now some of those words might have been new to us and we might not know what they mean. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the definitions of each of those words. And to start, we're going to go over what a robot is. Can I have you maybe think about what you think a robot is and share with somebody that you're with what you think a robot is and what a definition of a robot would be? All right. So my definition of a robot is a machine that can do many complicated things automatically. So that means they don't have to be told what to do, they just know what their task is. And there's a lot of different robots that can do a lot of different things. All right. And our next word was engineer. Does anybody know an engineer or what an engineer might do? Well, an engineer is somebody that likes to solve problems. They're creative and they use their imagination to build a lot of things like bridges, buildings, planes, computers, roads, and even robots. They do a lot of different things and there's a lot of different types of engineers. And sometimes engineers who work on computers are called programmers. And then our last word was our funniest word, and I don't know, I think it's a silly word, it's algorithm. Did anybody know what an algorithm was? Well, it's okay if you didn't. I'll go ahead and tell you. An algorithm is a list of steps that you can follow to finish a task, kind of like a recipe. When you're making cookies, you have to follow your instructions in order to be able to make your delicious cookies. An algorithm is something that programmers use to tell a robot what to do. It's the set of instructions that the robot uses to do its specific task. So now that we know the definitions to our 3 words, I'm going to be a programmer and I am going to tell you an algorithm about how to draw something. But I'm not going to tell you what the picture is that we're trying to draw. I'm just going to give you the steps to draw something. And I'll give you plenty of time after each step to draw. But to get started, I want to make sure that everybody has a piece of paper and something to write with. All right, are we ready? Okay, so our first step number 1, is to draw a big rectangular box on your paper. I'll give you a couple seconds to do so. A big rectangular box on your paper. Okay, great. Step number 2 is to draw a triangle on your paper. So step number 2 is to draw a triangle on your paper. All Wonderful. And then step number 3, I want you to draw a smaller, tall rectangle on your paper. All right, great. Step number 4, I want you to draw 2 squares that are the same size on your paper. All right. And our very last step is that we're going to draw 2 plus signs inside of 2 of our boxes. We draw 2 plus signs in 2 of our boxes. Now I want you to pick up your paper and I want you to share it with somebody else. Maybe you had somebody that was drawing these pictures with you. Share it to them. Does it look like theirs? Do your pictures look the same? I gave these instructions to a friend and I'm gonna show you the picture that they drew. This is the picture that they drew. Does that look like your picture? Probably not. So something that we do as programmers, if we're giving a set of instructions or an algorithm to someone and the final product doesn't turn out the way we thought it was going to, we have to go back and we have to do something called debugging. We have to try and figure out where our problems were with our algorithm. And I already know the problem with my algorithm. I wasn't very specific with where I wanted you to draw things. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to give you a better algorithm. I already went through and I debugged the algorithm that gave us this picture. And I'm going to be a little bit more specific this time and give you better steps to draw this picture, all right? So I want you girls to get your next piece of paper and I'm gonna give you our better set of instructions, all right? Are we ready? Great. All right, step number 1. We are going to draw a large rectangular box at the bottom of our page. Step number 1 is to draw a large rectangular box at the bottom of our page. Give you a couple moments to do so. Okay, great. Step number 2 is to draw a large triangle on top of the big rectangle that we just made, but we want our triangle to be just a little bit bigger than the box. So we're gonna draw a large triangle on top of that big rectangular box that we just made. I'll give you a couple moments to do so. Okay, great. Our next step is that we're going to draw a small and kind of tall rectangle in the middle of our big rectangular box, but I want that to touch the bottom of our box. So in our big rectangular box, I want you to draw a small rectangle touching the bottom. Okay, great. And then our last step is that on the right and the left side of our rectangle, I want you to draw 2 squares with a plus inside of them. So on the right and left side of your rectangular box, I want you to draw 2 squares with a plus inside of them. Can you go ahead and do that for me? Okay, great. So what does your picture look like now? Does it maybe look something like a house? Maybe something like this? Why don't you see if anybody got the same picture as you? These steps were a little bit easier to follow and more specific as to where to put things. There might have been a couple things that might be a little bit different, and that's what a programmer would then go and try and fix and debug even further so that every time everybody got the same picture. Pretty cool, right? All right. So now that we've learned a little bit about how to give steps to a robot and how to do our algorithms, what I want you to do is I want you to start to think about robots. And maybe I want you to think about a robot that you might want to use to solve a problem or to do something to help you out. So maybe you want it to help you carry something or to help you do the dishes or to help fold your laundry. I want you to think about a robot that would help you in your life. I want you to think about that. And what we're going to do, using all of the recycled materials that we found in all of our craft supplies and your imagination, we're going to build a robot using our imagination. So my robot won't be the same as your robot, and your robot won't be the same as somebody else's robot. Everybody's gonna have their own special and unique robot. And I'm gonna show you a robot that I made earlier, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about it. What you can do is you can build your own, but I'm gonna show you mine. So the problem that I wanted to solve is turning a page when I'm reading a book. I didn't want to have to sit there and turn my page every time. I wanted to create a robot that would help me turn the page of my book. So what I did is I have my book right here, all right? And I designed a robot to help me turn the pages because I said, it's too much. I don't want to turn my pages like this. I want to have a robot that'll do it for me. So I had to think about, what would this robot need to do? How would it need to move? All right, and so I'm going to show you, I created this little robot right here. And I'll show you how it works in just a moment, but I added wheels, I have an arm that's kind of sticky, and I'll show you how my robot works. And so in order for my robot to know what to do, I'm going to have to write it a step of instructions, our algorithm for our page turning robot. But I'm going to show you how it'll work first, and then I'll write my steps. So what I have right here is I have a sticky piece of tape right on the end, and that'll stick to the page of my book. And when I tell the robot to turn the page, it will roll over and turn my page for me. And then once it's turned, it'll roll back and stick itself to the next page until it's ready again. Isn't that pretty cool? Now I want you to think about what kind of robot you would want to build. And with my robot, I would need to write a set of an algorithm, a set of steps. And I want our robots to at least have 5 steps to follow. So I'm going to do for my page turning robot. And I'm going to write 5 steps for my page turning robot. Step number 1. So when I was looking at my robot, I think step number 1 would say, when I say turn the page, my robot would need to stick to the page. All right? So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna write all of my steps down. So when I say turn page, the robot will stick to the page. All right, and then I'm gonna keep going. And so then step 2 would be, once it's stuck, I want my robot to roll to the other side of the book. The book. Okay, and then I'm going to keep going and keep writing my steps all the way through so that my robot knows everything to do until I have all of my steps put together. And what I want you all to do is use your imagination and build your own robot. And after you build your robot, I want you to share it with somebody else and explain to them about your robot and see if they can make your robot do what you wanted to do by following your algorithm. And then if you're having even so much more fun and you want to keep doing some more things, you can check out all of the fun things that we have to do at Girl Scouts. With the Girl Scouts of Central Maryland, you can do more science and technology stuff with me. We have some really fun outdoor activities that you can do. And you can go on over to GSCM.org to see all of our opportunities that we have. All right, bye.